Hey guys, thank you for joining me for this full-length reformer class. Today we're going to be working on shoulder bridge. To begin, I have a long foam roller so that I can lay down on it, and I have 2 sticky mats. Also, I've taken my foot bar and I pulled it all the way up, and my headrest is all the way down. I have 1 medium and 1 light spring on my machine. On my machine, a balanced body machine that is 1 whole red and 1 whole blue. So, if you are uncomfortable doing footwork on a red and a blue, feel free to make it 1 red. If you still don't like that, go ahead and take the foam roller off. We're using the foam roller to widen the shoulder blades, open them up so that when we shoulder bridge, we're not rounding in on it or trying to get our shoulders involved. We want nice, wide, relaxed sternum, a nice wide open collarbone, a nice long neck. I find that the easiest way to attain this is to really work the kinks out of the shoulders at the very beginning of class. So, I have 1 sticky mat under the foam roller to keep it from sliding around. I have 1 sticky mat on the top to keep myself from sliding around. I'm going to come onto the machine, place both hands on the foot bar. I'm going to straddle the machine to begin. Sit down on the end of my foam roller. I'm going to place my feet on my shoulder or on my standing platform, or if you're more comfortable, you can place your feet over your foot bar and hook them, but place your hands down by your side. And as you walk down onto the foam roller, onto the machine, use your hands to assist you, and then go ahead and adjust your body from there. Make sure that the tip of your tailbone all the way through the tip of your head around. Now 1 foot at a time, go ahead and find the foot bar. To begin footwork, place your forearm all the way down through your hand, pressing in to the mat. Make sure that your ribs are connected, you have a nice flat sacrum, and we're going to press out on the inhale and resist the spring tension in on the exhale. Now, make sure that you're still pulling your sacrum flat down to the foam roller the entire time, and allowing your shoulder blades to melt to either side of the foam roller, excuse me. Make sure we're pulling on the sticky mat, and that was not comfortable. And press and release. I do find that eventually my body creeps up to the point where my shoulders are being supported by the shoulder blocks and my body position is pressing in slightly. I don't find that to be a problem personally. I actually prefer it so I'm not sliding all over the foam roller. Good. Press it out, really open and release in the front of the hip flexors, and hamstring curl back in. Here's 9. And here's 10. As we come back in, let's go ahead and flip our feet. We're just going to bring them together. So we're squeezing our legs in completely and squeezing the inside aspects of our feet together. We're going to find a flat sternum here, and we're going to find a neutral spine. So there's a slight lift between my sacrum and the 12th rib, where it's connecting with the foam roller. And I have a nice open collarbone. I'm wrapping my ribs. I'm just sinking my lower abdominals in a nice long neck. The weight's not too heavy. The more you draw everything towards the midline here, the easier it will be. Let's do 2 more. And 1 more. The foam roller is one of my favorite ways to work. Now, instead of just lifting your feet up and taking 1 to one side, 1 to the other, slide your left foot along the foot bar to find the wide Pilates V. Slide your right leg along the foot bar to find the wide Pilates V. If you just flop your legs to the side, you're going to be all loosey-goosey on the foam roller. So create some tension in your inner thigh. Squeeze on the outer thigh as you press out, squeezing in towards the midline still, and resisting back in. And pressing your heels into the foot bar. Create some tension there, guys. Looking for something a little more, now that you've created some balance on the foam roller, pop your forearms up and press into your hands. But still, melt your shoulder blades over the foam roller. 2 more. Wrap those ribs. Again, take just the left foot, slide it up to a demi-point or ball of the foot or high heel position, and the right foot. Now see if you can sit into this position enough to bring the carriage into the bumper. And now we're going to press it out, still squeezing in on our inner thighs, wrapping our femur in the hip socket to work the rotational muscles. Squeeze those glutes to press it out, and release the hip flexor to come back in. Looking for something a little bit more? Pop up the fingertips. I would not recommend releasing your hands from the carriage when you're on the foam roller doing footwork in a lifted position. Good. Release, or stretch it, and release. And let's do one more. Squeeze, and release. And now again, we're gonna leave the carriage in. Bring our left leg in, and then our right leg in by sliding them along the foot bar. Squeeze the entire inner aspects of the legs and feet together, just like we did when we were on a flexed foot a minute ago. But now we're in the high heel, demi-point, forced arch position. So press it out, and come back in. Squeezing our legs together the whole time. Good. You're going to inhale out and exhale in. And inhale and exhale. Wrap your ribs. Nice wide loose collarbone, sternum area. Now, bring your legs over your foot bar. Gently rock from side to side and slide your sacrum off and find the carriage. I place one foot on the floor and the other foot on the floor. Before I tuck my chin to my chest or protect my neck, and I come up to sitting off of the foam roller. I'm going to remove my sticky mats, remove the foam roller. I'm going to place them both to the side. From there, you can actually leave your headrest down. I'm so sorry. I am also going to find my candles. I'm going to change the springs to nothing because they are on the correct springs. I will be using this for supine arms, curl ups, and hundreds. So whatever springs that you use for that, please continue to use. I'm going to change my footwork to the middle setting, which is the setting I typically use on my machine. Can't remember if I told you, I have one medium, one light on my machine for this work. It's one red, one blue on my machine. So to begin, I'm going to tuck my tail, articulate down, scooch slightly away from the shoulder blocks. I'm going to rest my legs over the foot bar, but I'm not hooking my legs by any means. From there, I'm going to take my fingers, I'm going to locate my 12th rib on my backside. It's right above my hip bone, guys. It's not far. Also, I'm going to locate my neutral spine, which should be pretty easy after doing the footwork on the foam roller. I'm going to roll my shoulders up, back, and down. Wrap my ribs. Inhale, exhale. I'm going to imprint my spine and lift my tail up to my 12th rib. Adjust your legs where you need to, but not so that you're holding onto the foot bar with your legs. And articulate down. And inhale, exhale to lift. It's just a tiny lift. A good morning to your glutes and hamstrings. We're drawing our ribs to our hips to our ribs, other direction. Here, two more. Final one. And lower. I'm going to take my fingertips coming up out of my sternum, reaching straight up, palms facing away, shoulder blades flat and wide. Inhale, exhale, curl up, coming to the tips of my shoulder blades, bringing my hands down to my cups. I have an apple, an orange, an egg under my chin. I'm not crunching the chest. I'm not looking up at the ceiling. I have an even curve from my spine through to my tailbone, and I lower When I'm doing this, I have a weighted sacrum, and so I'm not tucking my tail to lift up higher. All in all, a nice warm-up, guys. One more, and then we're going to combo both of the last two moves we did. So, with our hands up to the ceiling, we're going to tuck our tail, imprint it, lift up to our 12th rib a little harder with no hands, right? Release and curl up and lower. Imprint the spine and lift, release, curl up and lower and lift and lower and exhale and inhale and exhale to lift, exhale to lower, exhale to lift head, neck, and shoulders. And we have one more. I'm sorry, I think we have two more. So this is our final one right here, guys. Good job. And lower. Don't forget the flat, heavy sacrum when we begin our next exercises. So I'm going to take my handles. I'm going to reach straight up to the ceiling, put a little bit of tension in there. I'm going to bring my legs to tabletop. Without moving anything on my body, I'm going to squeeze under my arms, reach my fingers long, and platform my shoulder blades on my back and on the mat. I'm not lifting them or moving them while I'm doing this movement. I am maintaining a completely neutral spine. I'm just using the load of the springs to get used to moving my arms without incorporating my shoulders or rounding them into this. So I'm going to come back up to the ceiling. We're going to add a curl up now. Inhale, exhale, leave your shoulder blades down your back and curl up. Reaching your fingertips long for the foot bar. No tucking. And lower. And lift. And lower. One more. Lift. And lower. And now we're going to press the legs out as we lift. Inhale, exhale, lift and extend our legs to our 100th level and pull it back to tabletop. Inhale, exhale, extend. Don't forget about your egg, apple, or orange. And lower. One more on this next one, we're going to stay up and do the hundreds. And lift. And now begin pumping. Inhale, 2, 3, 4, 5, and exhale, 2, 3, 4, 5. Squeeze your inner thighs. Squeeze your glutes. Don't tuck your tail. And don't forget about your apple or your orange. Inhale. And exhale. Squeeze your inner thighs tight. Reach your fingertips long. Don't lift them up towards the ceiling. Shoot energy out of your toes and out of your fingers. 2 more sets of 10. And final set of 10. Draw your knees in. Rest your head and shoulders. Place your feet wide on the footboard to the outside. And gently rock from side to side. We're going to peg the straps. We're going to add on to our shoulder bridging. So, I'm going to place my arches closer to my heels on the foot bar. From there, I'm going to bring my knees together. If they're separated, it should be no wider than my sits bones, right? I'm going to come up to where my sternum, if I were to take my fingertips to where my sternum and my 12th rib meet, and then wrap it around my back. For me personally, that would be my bra strap or my sports bra strap. But if you're not wearing a sports bra, take your fingertips right to where your sternum 12th rib meet. Draw a line around to the back. That's where your bridging is going to go. About mid-back bridging from your arms by your side. Keep the bumper in at the carriage by hamstring curling. And now exhale to bridge up to mid-bridge. Squeezing your glutes. And exhale to lower. And inhale and exhale and lift. Guys, we're going to do this just like we did our first tiny mini bridge. We're going to hit all of the areas of the bridging, all the parts of the back. And here's 5. One more. Squeeze, 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 and lower. Fingertips up towards the ceiling, coming out of your sternum. We're going to reach up to above our knees. It's going to be more of a lift up position. Inhale, exhale, reach, and lower. No tucking. So when I do the lift up, my arms aren't moving away from me. They're just reaching up to where they're along the ceiling and lowering. And reach. Heavy sacrum. Don't forget that knuckle under your chin. 2 more. Wrap your ribs, slide your ribs towards your hips as you curl up. 1 more. So not quite a curl up, almost a curl up, but a nice change. So just like we did on the first baby set, we're going to lift our arms up, which is going to make it more difficult for the mid-back bridging right here. So inhale, exhale to curl up to mid-back, or to bridge up to mid-back, and lower, and lift up, and lower, and articulate up to mid-back, and lower. We're doing 6 here, guys. Don't forget your hamstrings. Halfway there. Squeeze your glutes, squeeze your inner thighs, squeeze your hamstrings. Drop your belly to your spine. I have not lost contraction of my abdominals this entire time because when I release my tailbone down, I'm lifting up using my abdominals immediately there too. Keep breathing. And 1 more. And lower. Lift both legs up to the ceiling. Weight your sacrum. Hold on below your knee to pull in. Don't lift up. We're stretching out our hamstrings for all the bridging we're doing today. Extend your left leg over. You can bend it. Now, really weight that right hip by my right leg in the air. Pull in the hamstring. Release and switch. Left leg up. Weight that left hip. Give it a nice, gentle pull in. Good. From there, I'm going to come up to sitting. I forgot to mention earlier, we are going to be doing some box work today. So, go ahead and locate your boxes. I'm going to place it right here on to my carriage in the long box position. I'm going to take my light spring off. I only have 1 medium spring on my machine. That is 1 rod again. I'm going to place a hand up at the corner, a hand up at the corner. Lift 1 leg up onto the box and the other leg. I have where my sternum and 12th rib meet or my bra strap on the box. If you would like a sticky mat under your body for, it's more of a reverse swan using the frame of the Reformer and pulling straps 1 and 2, please feel free to use it. Otherwise, come lying down onto the box. Your sternum, 12th rib, or bra strap will be at the very edge of the box, so your pectorals will be hanging off. You're going to wrap your ribs, draw your abdominals up and in, and engage your glutes and hamstrings to float your legs up a little bit. Place your hands right underneath your shoulders more. Wrap your thumbs around so that if the carriage moves, it doesn't swallow them off. And from there, I'm going to squeeze under my arms and press up into a gentle baby swan. Drawing my abdominals up and in, wrapping my ribs, squeezing my glutes and inner thighs. And then I'm going to lower back down. And then I'm going to reach up. Press up, up, up as if I'm pulling my head through a turtle neck, or as if I'm a turtle poking its head through a shell, and lower. While we're here, I'd like to point something out. The chest lift on pulling straps 1 and 2 is optional, but if you were to do a chest lift, this is where you would chest lift to. My gaze is looking at the inside of the back of my Reformer frame. And so as I pull back, I lift. Drawing my abdominals up and in and lower. Release your hamstrings and glutes real fast. Go ahead and shake them out. So, if you're prepared and if you have no neck or back problems, I'd love to do a chest lift with pulling straps 1 and 2 today. We've already done the warm-up. That's where you're going to be lifting to. I'm going to have my hands wide on the frame. Bring them to the side. I'm not beginning with the carriage away from the bumper, but I am beginning under slight tension. The weight's not too heavy, so it should be a little easier to lift up and focus on maintaining the integrity of the lower back. I'm going to be neutral spine here, looking straight down. Squeezing up on my glutes and hamstrings. I'm going to pull straight back, bringing my fists towards my hips, and resist back down. And inhale to pull, and exhale to release. And inhale to pull. If you have a mirror nearby, go ahead and check and make sure that you have a nice even curve from the tip top of your head out through your toes. Going faster won't make this go any quicker, guys. Let's do it with control, squeezing under our arms. 2 more. On this next one, stay back. Now, just by bending at the elbows for a tricep press, bend your elbows and straighten. And bend. If you find this is too much, drop down to a neutral spine. Keep moving. Good. And now, release with control. Don't lose that squeeze on your thighs and glutes and hamstrings. Locate the metal, hold on to the metal with a closed fist, or I learned from a teacher once, I put my thumbs through the rings like a thumb ring, and I bring it out to the side, hooking my thumbs to hold on to the ring. Inhale, exhale to pull back, reaching the palms towards your hips. Flip your palms towards the ground, release and come back, and pull back, and then flip your palms. So you're keeping your shoulder blades nice and wide. Just when you thought pulling straps couldn't get any harder, we decided to slow it down. Squeeze up, up, up on your thighs. Don't lose it. Here's 7. And on 8, we'll keep our hands back by our hips, our palms, and come back. And now pulse 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and back down. Release your straps, peg them, release your legs, stretch out long, reaching long on the reformer, stretching out under your arms. Good job, guys. We're gonna walk back. We're gonna step off to one side. I haven't released the frame yet. I'm gonna press off to the other side, and then I release the frame, one hand at a time. From there, let's go ahead and change our box to short box. Whatever you need to do on your machine to do that, please go ahead. I have some machines that I like to make. Please put 4 to 5 springs on. Lower your foot bar if you need to. Safety strap, make sure it's hooked in properly. Come to sitting on the box. Make sure your box is centered. When it's not properly centered, get off real fast and center it. That way I don't go flying off and embarrass myself. Locate my safety strap. From there, I'm going to make sure I have a hand's width between my tailbone and the back of the box. I'm going to shoot energy out of my toes, squeeze in my inner thighs, sit up tall, wrap my ribs. I'm going to make my hands into a cinnamon roll and pull it apart and squeeze down. So I'm pulling my shoulder blades apart, just like we did on the foam roller, and I'm squeezing underneath my arms to pull my shoulder blades so I have a nice long neck. From there, I'm going to crease at the sternum and look down into my thighs. I'm going to do round back. So I'm going to articulate back, maintaining my C-shaped curve. I'm going to stop at my sacrum. I'm not going any further today because we're going to be adding on. And exhale forward. And inhale back. Use the exhale to help lift you up and maintain the curve. I definitely feel the shake here, guys. I'm definitely pulling down, shooting energy out of my toes, wrapping my glutes. Let's do 2 more here, and then we're going to add on. Roll your shoulders nice back, nice and wide. Just like we were talking about earlier, we don't want to round in on our shoulders here. From there, I'm going to come up to sitting tall. I'm going to rotate to the left. When I rotate, I'm not popping. When I rotate to the left, I'm not popping my right hip off. Like when I rotate to the right, I'm not going to pop my left hip off. I'm going to rotate my ribs across from above the belly button. Below the belly button does not move. Rotate, tuck my tail, articulate back. We don't want our shoulders to move here. Come up to sitting tall on top of the sits bones. Tuck my tail, roll back, down on the left side. But I have even weight on my sits bones. So, I come back to the tuck, and then I articulate up, and I tuck, and I articulate, and then I articulate, and I untuck. 2 more. We're going to do this to the other side next, and then we're going to incorporate everything we've done and do around the world. All right, before I do that, I'm going to flip the switch on my cinnamon roll. Before my left hand is on top, and now my right hand's on top. I'm going to rotate to the right, but leave my left back sits bone on, tuck my tail, articulate back, and articulate up. I don't know what I did, but I felt a nice little pop there. I'm going to tuck my tail, roll back, drawing my ribs towards my hips, never losing that C-shaped curve. Come back up, and then untuck. Still pressing my cinnamon roll into my belly button, drawing my belly button away from my cinnamon roll. Here's 5. 1 more, tuck, roll back, roll up, and tuck. Before we begin, release your legs real fast. Go ahead and shake it out. For me, this is a particularly heavy hip flexor exercise. It's a great exercise, but it's important to release your hip flexors. Go ahead and give them a nice little massage. We're going to come to sitting tall, find our cinnamon roll, draw it into our belly button. I'm going to rotate to the left, tuck my tail, articulate back. I'm going to come through center in the round back position. Then I'm going to rotate to the right and articulate up and around the world. Come through center. Now I'm going to rotate to the right. Tuck my tail, articulate down. Come through round back, come to the left. Articulate up, come through center. And the left. Articulate back. Round back to the right. Oh, my shoulder wanted to leave there. Articulate up, through center. My left shoulder likes to get into it a little bit. And rotate to the right. Tuck my tail. Round back through center. See if you can identify maybe a body part that wants to get into it a little bit more than it should be on your body as well when we do this exercise. Now, let's do 1 more to each side. Through center. Stay back, left shoulder. Articulate up. Through center. Final one, guys. Rotate right. Tuck your tail, roll back. Through center. To the left. Articulate up. Through center. Go ahead and remove your feet from the safety strap real fast. Take your arms, thread them through your legs to the outside of your feet, underneath, and just drop your head down for a second. Don't rock forward, you don't want to fall forward. Let's just take a nice little relaxing break real fast. I feel a nice stretch in my inner thighs personally here. It's not an easy exercise. Go ahead and articulate up slowly with control, feeling the support from the front of your body as you articulate up. Locate your safety strap again, make sure it's still well connected. That's something I do every time I put my feet under the safety straps. I give it a little tug to make sure, no matter what, to make sure it's still doing it well. Let's do some flat back. I'm going to squeeze in my glutes, sit up tall, wrap my ribs, draw my abdominals up and in, float my arms up so they're by my biceps. And inhale, reach back long, long, long. I'm pulling my shoulder blades down my back with my underarms and squeeze my glutes to lift up and press forward. I'm hinged forward slightly so that I can release out of my hip flexors just a little bit. And inhale back and reach. And exhale to left. Inhale back. Draw your belly up and in. And exhale forward. Woo. And inhale back. This shake is real, guys. Inhale back. Imagine you're between a panini press or 2 panes of glass as you lean back and left. From here, we're going to stay hinge forward slightly and side bend. Reach for the wall on the ceiling knee to the right and pull it forward and to the left and pull up. Just like on the articulation to the side, my opposite hip is staying grounded. Wrap your ribs. Good job, guys. Go ahead and pull your feet back in again. We're going to do that same stretch again where we thread our hands underneath our legs. Bring it to the side. Round forward. My trainer, Katie Rowley, does this stretch, and I always really enjoy it in class. Good. Almost done. Now, unthread your hands, articulate up, hold on to the box as you step one foot off, other foot off, and then release your hands so that you're nice and safe. I'm going to take my box up. I'm going to bring my headrest up. I'm going to tuck my safety strap away, set my machine up for long stretch series. Typically we do I teach long stretch series on one medium, one light spring. Today we're going to do long stretch on one medium spring, and then we will add one light spring to the one medium spring for the rest of the exercises. If you are not confident enough to do this on one medium spring, go ahead and add one medium, one light, or whatever springs you prefer. So, I'm going to place one hand on the foot bar. I'm going to place my farthest hand on the foot bar. I'm going to bring my left foot up, place it between the headrest and the reformer and the shoulder block, and press that foot straight with my glutes. Square off my hips, float my other leg up and around, and bring it between the shoulder blocks, between the headrest and the reformer, in a Pilates feet position. My shoulders are over my hand, over my wrist, and pulling the foot bar apart. I'm going to press out a couple inches, exhale and pull it back. I'm drawing up and into my abdominals, I'm wrapping my ribs, I'm squeezing my inner thighs and glutes. I have a straight line from my head all the way down through my tailbone. Good job, guys. This is a nice challenge. Squeezing in on your legs is really going to help. Now from there, begin to bend your knees as you pull the foot bar into the carriage. Place that light spring on. So I now have one medium and one light spring on my carriage. On my machine, that is one whole red and one whole blue spring. I'm going to place my hands wide on the foot bar, tuck my toes on the carriage, press my heels into the shoulder blocks, squeeze my glutes, and come up into a swan extension on my knees. Then I'm going to press the machine back, coming over my knees quickly, and pull back up. I'm never losing the chest lift. My body's going down and up. I'm drawing my abdominals up and in, but I'm not reaching in to my low back. Let's do one more. From there, I'm going to press my hips back. Bring my toes forward slightly. Pike at my hips. Press them back. Step onto flat feet in front of my shoulder blocks. You should be able to lift my toes here. So I have my weight evenly distributed behind my big toe, behind my baby toe, and into my heel. Now I'm going to tuck up and in and do an angry cat. Bring my ears between my biceps, looking in between my thighs, tucking my tailbone towards my nose. I'm going to press back without losing the C-shaped curve, and exhale, pull back. We're in round back elephant. I'm drawing my belly button up to my spine. Every time I draw it in, I'm reaching up, as if I just got punched in the stomach. Now, for those of you with hip replacement, please continue with this. Otherwise, I'm going to come into a flat back elephant. If your feet are here and your hips are behind you, if your feet are ahead of your hips, Please don't do this if you've had a hip replacement or hip problems, but if they're right under you and you're coming back to 90 degrees, unless you have heard otherwise from a doctor, you should be fine. Biceps between your ears again, more in a flat back position. Press it out and back under, and 2. Press energy out of your hands so that you're not sinking into the foot bar. I get a nice hamstring stretch here. Good. Here's 7. And here is 8. Good. From there, I'm going to keep my hands on the foot bar. I'm going to step over and step off of the carriage. From there, I'm going to place my far hand on the foot bar, bring my other hand behind me, and then I'm going to bring my feet up to sitting on the foot bar. I flip my thumb around so it's in line with all my other fingers. I'm going to walk my feet forward slightly. I'm going to slide my glutes off of the foot bar. From there, I'm just going to do some tricep dips, keeping the carriage into the bumper. I'm going to dip and lift. My arms are doing the work. I'm not pressing up with my legs. If you find that this is a good movement for you, let's move on to the long back stretch. Slide yourself back to the foot bar. If this was not a good move for you, if you were uncomfortable doing it, you can place your feet on the floor. You can place your hands to the side of the other reformer frame, and you can tricep dip from there while we do this next exercise. I'm going to walk my legs up long in front of me. My thumb is facing my fingers again. If you are especially short, you might be more comfortable taking the foam roller and placing it right here across in front of your shoulder blocks so that your feet can reach for something. Otherwise, excuse me, thumbs in line, feet out long, slide your glutes off, tricep dip, tuck your tail as you begin to press the machine away from you, straightening your arms and coming up into a back plank, and pull it back, and now dip, or a reverse plank. Tuck your tail on the left, and pull back to neutral, creasing at the hips. Tricep dip and press while you articulate and tuck and back. And now let's reverse. Let's tuck and articulate and then drop, creasing at the hips. Bend the elbows and press back up. Tuck it out and press. Bring your hips down towards the mat. I'm not sitting on the reformer. I'm still hovering, guys. Squeezing underneath my arms so my shoulders don't come up to my ears. Squeeze your glutes to left, lower, and bend. Press up. Press up so you're sitting on your foot bar one more time. Bring it off to the side. It's been a while since we've done long back stretch. I'm still on one medium, one light. I'm going to drop my head rest. I'm going to come down onto my machine. I'm going to tuck my tail, roll back. We're going to do full shoulder bridge together in the center. Wide Pilates feet, my favorite of all shoulder bridges. Do not separate your feet any wider than your sits bones on the back. This is a hamstring curl to keep the bumper in at the carriage. Platform your arms long down by your side. Nice wide shoulder blades. Wrap your ribs. Inhale, exhale, imprint your spine. Come through the baby. Come through the mid-back. Roll up so your platform around your shoulders. Articulate down, down, down. Walk your legs closer together. Inhale, exhale. Take your tail, lift, 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 lift. Squeeze your glutes to lift your hips. Don't pop into your neck or sternum. Articulate down, 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 down. Walk your legs all the way together. Inhale, exhale. Take your tail. Hit those other two bridges we've done and press your legs out and squeeze it back and squeeze in your glutes and press. Squeeze your knees together, squeeze your glutes. You want more of a challenge? Lift your arms up, platform your shoulders down. And fill out my hamstrings. Squeeze your glutes. Keep it in the bumper. Articulate down. Bring your feet wide to the wide Pilates V on your arch. Now platform your arms. Oh, my glasses are getting a little foggy. Inhale, exhale, imprint. Come through the three bridges and squeeze it up. You're going to feel it on your outer glutes now. especially the rotational portions, and lower. Keep the carriage into the bumper, and lift. Hollowing up from hip to hip, lifting up, and lower. A good way to make sure that your bridge is not up under your neck is to tuck your tail and lift. While you're up here, can you lift your head? And now press out, and pull back in, rotating the femur in the hip socket. Your knees should be tracking over your big toes. Not that you can necessarily tell here. Lift your arms up for an added challenge. Squeeze your glutes. And here is 6. Tuck your tail and lower down. Bring your knees into your chest. Rock gently from side to side. We're going to locate our pegs or our shoulder blocks. I'm going to bring my knees into my chest, tight like a little ball, but my sacrum's on the mat. My elbows are lifted slightly in my periphery, but my shoulder blades are flat and wide, really platformed on the mat. Wrapping my ribs. We're going to be doing a reverse ab curl. It's going to be moving into our corkscrew exercise after this. Inhale, exhale, and print your spine. Rock your tailbone up. Using your low abdominals, no shoulders. This is slightly reminiscent of the baby bridge that we did in the very beginning of class after footwork. Inhale, lower, and exhale to lift. Inhale, lower. It is a tiny movement, guys. You should not be swinging your legs. You are using your abdominals, and think of using your rib wrap, and you have the pegs so you can use your underarms. Let's do 2 more. My personal opinion, this is one of the harder exercises in class. Good. From there, we're going to extend our legs up to the ceiling. I don't want them towards your nose. I want them straight up. We're going to be doing corkscrew 2. We're going to inhale, exhale, lift our tailbone up. Try to shoot your feet straight into the ceiling. Go to the right, or to the left. Keeping your legs completely together. So one hip will rock off from side to side. Come through the center, both hips are grounded. Now rock to the right, so the left hip will come off. Rock up, roll up your right side. Come up and bring your toes straight up into the ceiling. Rock to the right, roll down the right side. Heavy sacrum through center, rock to the left, rock up the left side. Tiny lift in the center, roll down the left, through center at the bottom. Up the right, back through center with the lift. Down the right, ground yourself in center. With the left, tiny lift in center. One more to each side, guys. This does take a lot of control. If you're swinging your legs around wildly and your feet are going behind your head, please control your movements. And lower. Draw your knees into your chest and a nice little hug. Gently rock from side to side. From there, I'm going to bring my legs into a frog position on the foot bar. We are going to be doing a modified semicircle. We've been doing quite a few bridges in parallel. I'd love to do a few extra in a sort of turned out position. So I'm on my arches closer to my heels. I'm going to use my hamstrings to draw the carriage into the bumper. So modified semicircle, we're not going to be dipping our tail into the well. We're going to leave it on the carriage. So imprint your spine, tuck your tail, lift up into a bridge. Press out as we were doing the leg presses earlier. From here, slowly articulate your spine back down to the mat and bend your knees to come back into the carriage with a hamstring curl. Tuck your tail and lift, drawing your knees over the foot bar. And press out and articulate down. Just a couple more bridges, guys, right? If you would like a little bit more, because this is modified, lift your hands up, tuck your tail and lift. Rotate the femur in the hip socket, trap your knees over your big toes. Articulate down and come in. Now platform your hands for the first couple as we do it in reverse. So we're going to press out. We're in completely neutral spine. We're going to imprint, tuck our tail and lift. As we draw our knees in hamstring curl, we're going to squeeze our glutes to lift our legs, pulling our knees across the foot bar, and then articulate down. And press it out, squeezing our inner thighs. Tuck our tail and lift. Pull it across and articulate down. Hands up to the ceiling if you'd like a challenge. And press. Tuck your tail and lift. Draw it in. And articulate. Down. Good job, guys. We're going to roll to one side. We're going to change our springs. We have one medium, one light on. We're going to drop the light. We only have one medium spring on at this point on my machine that is one red. I'm going to come to kneeling with my knees in front of my shoulder blocks. I'm going to squeeze my glutes in that same bridge position. So my shoulders are over my hips are over my knees. I'm going to reach down, grab my handles, put them on my wristlet bracelets, choke up to the tape or to above the middle. I'm going to lean forward slightly. We are going to do chest expansion. So reaching my hands down, 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 squeezing my under my arms. I'm going to reach behind me. I'm look to the right, center, left, center. Release my arms forward with control. I don't want my body to move. I don't want to be leaning too hard into my shoulder blocks. Press back. Look left, center, right, center. Release. Pressing my shins into the mat, I'm going to, or the carriage room, pull back. I'm going to look right, center, left, center. Release. Squeezing my glutes, draw my abdominals up and in, wrapping my ribs, pull back. Look left, center, right, center. Release. Reach down with energy as you pull back. Right, center, left, center. Release. Final one. And pull back. And look left, center, right, center. Release. Bring your hands up. We're going to be doing a tiny baby thigh stretch. Try not to lift your arms to help you back up. We are going to hinge back, just like we did on flat back, just from our knees rather than our glutes, and bring it back forward, squeezing our glutes. Guys, we've done so much glute work today. Your glutes should be prepared for this. And press it back. Straight line from our knee to our hips to our underarms. Good. And we're going to hinge. Shoulders up, back, and down. Wrapping our ribs. Do we have two more? If we don't, hit a child's pose. If you do, join me. If you have to lift your arms to come back up, don't go back as far. Good job. From there, we're going to hold the straps in one hand and rotate to face the front. If you would like your straps to be a little heavier for arm work facing front, you would tuck your toes and place your heels against the shoulder blocks. If you'd like them to be a little lighter, you would bring your toes together and squeeze your glutes to press your hips forward, opening up in the front of the psoas. It all depends on, because you can walk your feet back further here than you can in the shoulder blocks. But if you like this position more, but want the same weight, walk your feet forward a little bit, and you can still maintain this, still get a lot of nice inner thigh work here with the turned out position. Bring your hands down by your side. Leave them at your hips. Sit back on your heels. Imagine you have a rod through the tip top of your head coming out through your tailbone. Just by uncreasing at the hips, you're going to squeeze it up in a straight line and lower it in a straight line. And squeeze the lift. Using all of those wonderful glutes that we just worked for bridging. Does this remind you of bridging? It probably does, because it probably should. So you're going to lift up into a bridge-like position and lower. Let's do one more. And now from there, we're going to bring our sides of our palms into our natural hip, squeeze the bottom tips of our shoulder blades, point our elbows back, and we're going to press our hands forward to our sternum and resist it back. And 2. Here's 3. Here's 4. Press those hips forward, open up those hip flexors. Make sure that your shoulders are stacked over your hips are stacked over your knees. Drop your hands down by your legs and lift up with straight arms. In the offering and lower. And lift. Leave them at your sternum. The weight's a little heavy to lift them above. Slide your shoulders down your back as you lift. Here's 5. And here's 6. Good. From there, we're going to bring our arms out to the hug tree position. Inhale to tap, exhale to open. Pause for a second. Inhale, open, and exhale to tap. Inhale to open. Go ahead and rest back for 1 moment. We are going to hinge back up and do 3 arm circles in each direction. Inhale, exhale, lift up as if you were in that bridge position with that rod from the tip of your head through your tailbone. Lift up to offering, open to a T, and lower. Offering, T, and here's 3, open, and lower. Now reverse, open to a T, come to offering. When you come to offering, your hands will be lined up with your uprights. You shouldn't squeeze them to your sternum. And round in on your shoulders. We don't want to lose all that nice shoulder opening work we've been doing. Now, hinge at the hip and lower, 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 back, down. Good. From there, we're going to change our spring over to 1 heavy spring. That's 1 green spring on my machine. If you'd like to lift your headrest, you can. I'm going to come down to lying. I'm going to place 1 hand, my hand is furthest away, on the shoulder block. Roll down onto my back. I'm going to high heel position in the center. We're going to press out. We're going to do some trotting and some lower lift water wheels before we finish with mermaids. I'm going to press it out, squeezing everything together. I'm going to lower my left foot and lift. Now, this is lighter than it would normally be for trotting for us or for my classes. And so it takes more abdominal work. You probably have to move a little slower than you normally would to maintain your body position. Good. Platform your shoulders nice and wide. Here's 9. Don't pop like I just did. Drop that left heel under. Now take your right foot, hook your toe underneath, and pull it in. This is another one of Katie's favorite stretches, and I really like it. I really get a nice calf stretch here. Release your foot back and press out straight. Now drop your right heel under, release your left foot, hook it under and pull that heel down. Release, place that foot back on, and lift up. And now drop your heels under, bend your knees to resist it back in. Come up into a high heel and press out, squeezing everything together and lower both heels. Bend it in. And maintaining the squeeze on the inner thighs, my knees, my calves, the inner aspects of my feet the entire time. Maintaining the position of the backs of my body with my neutral spine is especially hard here, given the weight. And now lift your heels up. Reestablish your sacral weight. Drop your heels under. And as you press out, press your heels under. And then lift and bend your knees over the footboard, high heel. Press your heels under. And as you press out, press your heels further under. Lift a high heel. And resist the springs back in. Resist the springs, not that they're that heavy, right? And press, and lift, squeezing everything together still. This is our final one. Lower, press out, pressing the heels under. Feeling that nice openness in the front of your hip flexors. Good. Rock to the side. Use a shoulder block to help you up. From there, we're going to do mermaid to end class. The mermaid is going to have a chest lift in it. So, if you don't want to do the chest lift, you can do whatever leg mermaid you like. Otherwise, if you don't have any hip or knee problems, you'll come into mermaid. I'm facing the left side of the machine. My left shin is pressing into the shoulder blocks. I'm in a Z sit, but I've taken my right shin and angled it slightly towards the foot bar. If you have knee problems or hip problems where this is uncomfortable, feel free to sit in a crisscross applesauce, a little bit angled, or come to a side sit. Also, you do not have to do the chest lift if you don't want to. I will warn you when it's coming up. So, right hand on the foot bar slightly in front of your body, left hand over the shoulder block, elbow bent down towards your hip, press it out, and reach over in a nice side bend, nice stretch. Stretching out both sides, shooting the energy out of the foot bar, pressing away from the foot bar. Bend your elbow, bring the carriage back in. Locate the peg or shoulder block and reach away. And reach back down and press it out, drawing your shoulder down your back. And come back up. On this next one, we press out, we're going to rotate towards the springs to do the chest lift. So if you're not interested in that, please go ahead and find a stretch that you enjoy. Now I'm going to rotate towards the springs. Place my left hand on, bring my right hand wide. I'm going to lift up into a nice chest lift. I'm not popping my back hip, I'm trying to leave it down as I rotate chest lift. Press back, bring my biceps by my ears, and lift. And one more. And lift. Now, press out, bring your right hand back under, float your left hand off, rotate to the side, bend your elbow in as you come up, 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 float over into the well, and come back up. We are going to rotate to the other side. Again, if you have any hip or knee problems, please feel free to do any of the modifications or find any stretch that you enjoy most. Otherwise, my right shin is pressing into the shoulder block. I am in the Z-sit position with my left shin angled slightly towards the foot bar. My left hand is on the foot bar, slightly in front of my body, right hand over the shoulder block or peg. Elbow on my left hand bent down towards my hip, spiraling out slightly to my pinky blade edge so I can really press into my underarm, pull my shoulder away. So press it out and over, pressing away from the foot bar, reaching over, bend your elbow down. As you lift up, grow taller, locate the peg, and then you side bend into the well. Floating back up, locate the foot bar, and reach. And lift, wrap your ribs, nice long neck, biceps by ears. On this next one, we will do the chest lift, and reach, rotate towards the foot bar. Place your right hand on, bring your left hand wide, and lift. Drop your right hip back. So you're getting a nice rotation in your back. Drop your shoulders down. One more. And now, staying pressed out, I'm going to take my left hand, bring it back to its original position. Float my right hand up, rotate to the side, bend my elbow down, down, down. I'm up and rotate into the well. And come back up to sitting tall. Let's take one more nice deep inhale. Guys, thank you so much for joining me for class today. If you have any questions, please feel free to reach out. Otherwise, thank you for joining me.